peace, prosperity, and love, beautiful people. Welcome to Gracefully Imperfect, a podcast for the Black and African diaspora in material of socioeconomics, politics, religion, and so forth. The centrality of this podcast is immersive empathy, introspection, deep thought, soul-serving conversation and communication, all in the light of unlocking the keys to vulnerability and transformation. During our time together, we will engage in topics related to mental and spiritual health experiences, the intersectionality of mental health and creativity, identity and culture, and any and all things related to healing from trauma, gathering insights, cultivating a deep sense of knowing, and repairing soul wounds. In the essence of communal love and collective consciousness, let us open our minds, lighten our hearts, settle our spirit, access soul intelligence, and affirm the richness of our humanity.
Love and blessings to all of you. I'm so grateful to be back on this podcast with all of you. And wherever you are tuning in, I hope that you are finding nothing but peace, humility, goodness. And if there is some stress, I really hope that you are somatically processing it, sitting still with it, confronting it and challenging it, addressing it, and positively metabolizing that stress, that worry, and whatever else that's going on that's creating unpleasantness. It is I, Kyle Toon, and we're back here again together as one, gracefully imperfect. We are in full embracement of our humanity, where we understand that it's not about perfectionism. It's not about adapting a paradigm or a worldview that is foreign to us. And it is not about appeasing to anyone's particular way of thinking, believing, experiencing, and conceiving. This is about taking every single thing that we interact with, every experience, every book, that we read, every conversation that we have, every lessons learned, our spiritual practice, our religious practice, our non-spiritual and non-religious practices, our moving and maneuvering day to day, whether it's within school, the workplace, out there on the streets, public transportation, and the various institutions that we find ourselves in. It's about packaging that, integrating it, consolidating it as a whole, and then using consciousness, using that to expand consciousness and to reflect on it and to break it down and dissect it and get to know it intimately. Then that hopefully can become crystallized wisdom. And so I'm just grateful to be here with all of you. And I send nothing but love and warm healing energy to all of you. There's a lot going on. As we know, for those who are caught up in the federal debauchery, I encourage that you find time to contemplate, meditate, be with self, seek out wisdom from your ancestors, from the divine being, look for inner wisdom, and also find community that is suitable to your ideals and your values. Um, I have been thinking uh, so much, and I brought this up a few weeks ago, just about the global discord, the violence that is taking place in every community where it's predominantly people with melanated skin, the environmental genocide, the genocide on people, whether that is in Palestine or the Congo, or even the struggle post-apartheid of our brothers and sisters in South Africa, and even the fight for our humanity and justice and equality and repairing and the reparative process of repairing those ancestral, intergenerational, and institutional wounds from chattel enslavement here in the United States. And we also know that it wasn't just here. It was also very much very displaced from and not co-located here. And I'm here in Jamaica right now where there is a continuous struggle and a continuous fight against those who are trying to privatize the beaches. And the people of Jamaica are very much naturalistic. They use what comes from the earth for their livelihoods and for subsistence. And the fact that foreigners are coming here and using their power and their wealth and their privilege to take away the very essence of what makes the Jamaican character and Jamaican identity spiritually whole. That is a form of political and economic genocide. So there's so much going on, and I haven't listed everything. And I apologize if the issue or the concern or cause that you are fighting for and that you are standing up against and what you are dealing with that I have not explicitly stated. I just know that my heart is with any and all causes that are fighting for self-determination, autonomy, liberation, and humanness. On our last episode, the title of that last episode, Why Social Work? And I really hope that for all of those who are tuning in, who's new, and who are not new but did not watch it or listen to it, that you go and do us a favor and go take a look and watch that to its entirety and see how me becoming a professional social worker, a liberation social worker, just figure out how what happened in that process, that life process. Today, though, I want to take a different step. I want to be a little bit more intimate, a little bit more personal. As you all know, and for all of you who do not know, I am 2 months away from graduating with my Master of Social Work. Yeah. A whole lot of family sacrifice, economic sacrifice. And here we are. We're almost there. We can see the light at the end of the proverbial tunnel. And there's been a lot that has happened in these 2 years. A lot has happened. A lot of goodness. A lot of measures of testing one's patience, testing one's spiritual character. And I know it has and not been in vain. All of it has informed and educated me in very, very colorful ways that has shaped and restructured and modified the way in which I navigate the world and the ways in which I design and co-create healing processes, and the way that I show up as father, husband, community member, family member, scholar. So I am extremely grateful for the bumps and the bruises, the trials and tribulations, and the moments of anxiety and fear and despair. I want to talk about a particular instance because I believe that this particular instance can definitely be a life story and a life experience that most of you who are watching this can attest to. And again, just like this episode and every other episode, even though that I may be contextualizing these narratives and these conversations based off of a context that informs my lens, which then guides perspective, I ask that you contextualize it for you based off your own ideologies and value system and principle system. Because even though we are all here for vulnerability and transformation, the avenue that we take, the pathways and the process will vary in various degrees. So this particular life experience that I would like to share with all of you had to do with the internship that I was in. And I'm not going to say any names. I'm not going to point out the organization. Just please, just listen, just flow with me in rhythm, and try to just grasp the message, whether that is explicitly or the undertones. And so this particular life experience, I'm at this internship and I'm learning how to develop programs. And I am learning how to facilitate groups with Black folks who are battling and struggling and seeking restorative and attuned care through racial, intergenerational, ancestral, and structural racism. And my research interest, or even still today, my research interest has been racial stress and trauma. And so going into this internship provided a great practical and tangible and real life experience to the quantifiable and the qualitative research I've been doing on the subject matter of racial stress and trauma. So I was extremely grateful and extremely thankful for the opportunity. I even sought out this opportunity for myself and pitched myself to the organization. I explained to them what it is that drew me to them. I spoke at lengths about their mission and vision and their global impact on the soul care and the mending of pain of people of African descent globally. The conversation was so grand and so reciprocal that we even agreed upon I could be used in that very first conversation. And that was to create a healing process for Black men. And so I took that on with enthusiasm. And so when I came on and I learned not only the intricacies and the inner workings of the organization, but then I learned about how the African value system, African cultural wisdom, like Ubuntu, I am because we are, and other African philosophical concepts that really speak to social relationships and the morality between people, and to seeing and understanding and addressing and respecting the humanity, the fullness of humanity. I was excited. All my studying has been wrapped around African cultural wisdom. All my studying has been wrapped around African psychology and African philosophy, African spirituality. And then from a psychological science perspective, I started looking at racial stress and trauma to understand how the phenomenon of the legacy of chattel enslavement has affected us socially, culturally, intellectually, emotionally, psychologically, etc. And so this was no coincidence. This was divine alignment. And so as I'm here, I started realizing that there's a bit of hypocrisy. And I started realizing that in moments where I really needed understanding and compassion, comfort, and affirmation. I was going through a very troubling time with walking away from a job that completely went against my moral and spiritual identity. And so that put my family and I at a very much a economic disadvantage. And not only that, I'm a full-time student and I'm a homeschool educator. And so I was looking for micro dosages of grace and humility. And when I was seeking that, what I was getting in return is criticism, ridicule. I was getting these subtle messages of your worth and your value is tied to tangible production. And if there is no metrics associated to your performance and your placement here, then you, as an intern, are not meeting expectation. And that crushed me. That crushed my core. Because here we are in this organizational framework where the values of familyhood and the values of the importance of human relationships, the respect for humanity. The list goes on. And here, the very person that I looked up to was not acting in accordance with those African values and cultural wisdom that has been passed down from generation to generation and that has stayed with us even through the kidnapping of our people, the captivity of our people, and the enslavement of our people. So I was hurt. I was devastated by the hypocrisy and the fact that the truth started to emerge right before my eyes. And it was unfolding in a way that the divine wanted me to see it in all of its shades and all of its color and all of its texture. And so, as I'm going through this, I had to take a brief and temporary disconnection from the organization. And it may have been almost 2 weeks. And I was so saddened by this interaction that I had with this person that I respected so much that I started to look at myself differently. I started to question my worth and my value. I began to circulate thoughts and internalize scripts that went against the dignifying of my personhood. That is tremendous. We talk about mental health this a few weeks ago, and we talked about how it is rooted in the mastery of self-knowledge, that process of knowing, being, becoming. And in that moment, I lost all sight and understanding of the lessons, the experiences, the perspectives that has informed my liberatory mindset and consciousness, all because I had so much respect to a particular person that is in the community doing such great work, helping those who are suffering from the wounds of systemic racism. I even asked the question, why me? What did I do? Did I say something wrong? Did I give too much of myself? Was I too honest? I started asking all these evaluative questions, which are really, in essence, questions that are invalidating to my own character. Yeah. And just thinking about it right here, right now, with all of you and speaking about it, it makes my heart heavy. It does. And that's okay. Because I'm not closed off. I'm still very much open-hearted. It's just, I was really, really hoping that this was an opportunity that would have segued into a long and fruitful partnership. And so what happened next is that after I took that 2-week hiatus, I came back. I came back armed. I came back armed with a courageous spirit. And it was because I sought out counsel and advice and therapy from my community system. My wife first, my mother in spirit, my sister in spirit. I spoke to a mentor of mine who's also a mental health advocate. I went to my altar and I sought guidance and protection and messages and information and from my from my ancestry. I also prayed immensely to the divine for understanding the spiritual meaning for what just happened, the deeper meaning. And I asked for it to be packaged and delivered in a way that I can understand and use for the betterment and improvement of our life situation. And the answers didn't come all at once. It was very much a piecemealing process. I didn't sit with it though. And I knew that with sitting with it while I'm already asking these evaluative, critical questions that are antithetic to my dignity, my character, I knew that if I sat with this, that could only lead to a deeper and darker despair. So rather than isolating and going into solitude, I sought after community care. And I got it. I got it. And when I got all those affirmations from my wife, from my sister, from my mother, from my mentor, and I got those affirmations from my ancestry, and I got those symbolic messages through the flame, through the wind, through my dreams, when I felt the wind touch me in a way that only comfort and comfortability can be experienced. I realized just how protected I am. I realized that, and that everything that I go through, no matter how big or small, that it's not infinite. And so I went back 2 weeks later with that courageousness, with my spirit vibrant and elevated and my conscience expanded. And I spoke to the person directly. I communicated to the person directly. I stood on business. I was very respectful and calming, yet I was unapologetic. And the person took it very, very honest. And the person took it without trying to justify their actions and providing rationale. And the person did affirm that what transpired could have been handled in a more humane and humanizing way. So what now? And what happened was that was also a deceitful moment. Because fast forward after we had that very genuine and intimate conversation where understanding and the interrelatedness and the intercooperation was mended, and we agreed upon starting over, getting back to the fundamental basics of relationship building. What ended up happening was that this very person went behind my back and usurped my position with this organization with a smile on their face. And guess what happened when that happened? I didn't go in despair. I've already saw and witnessed and experienced the type of person that I was dealing with. And even though I forgave this person, and I was more than willing to move on harmoniously, when you have that spirit of knowing and you use discernment powerfully and consistently, and you understand that even though that our humanity is what makes us one and unified, you also realize within that same breath, the paradox that the person or the entity or the system may not look at your humanity in the same light. I walked away. I wasn't going to allow this toxicity and this hypocrisy to interfere with my spiritual, professional, moral identity process. Wasn't going to do it. Didn't do it. Would never do it again. I am honored to be given that opportunity to see it unfold firsthand. And that right there informed me to be transparent. I already believed fully and wholly in transparency. But that right there gave me the up close view of how not to be a supervisor and a leader and a healer and a helper. I want whatever I do in the coordinated effort to support the interest, the development, and the growth of my people. I want that to reflect the ways in which I show up outside of that environment. I want there to be full congruency with my personal life, with my professional life, with my community life, and so forth and so forth. So thank you for the lesson. Thank you for the opportunity to learn about myself, to learn about some of the sticky points and friction points that are still keeping us from being unified and collectively strong. And thank you for informing this next phase in my walk, in my maneuver, in my movement as a liberation social worker, divinely inspired by the collective consciousness of Black and African folks. So, really thank you all for listening to me and riding with me and rolling with me and staying in rhythm. This right here was very, very, very incredible, tremendous, magnificent. And I hope that with this story, with this narrative, that you're able to draw parallels to it or draw inspiration from it, to pull from it what it is that serves and nourishes your soul. And I want to leave you all with a quote for reflection, for introspection, and just to keep you moving and grooving in complete harmony with the natural world, with yourself, with your family, your community, despite the political, economic, and spiritual calamity that's going on out there. And the quote is, "My humanity is bound up in yours, for we can only be human together." Rest in power, Archbishop Desmond Tutu. can't wait for us to have another conversation where we embrace the fullness of our humanity and we unlock the keys to vulnerability and transformation. Peace, blessings, and love. I'll talk to you all soon. Be well.